Hey, it's Grant with Grant Bakes, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to take a loaf of sourdough bread and turn it into sourdough dinner rolls. If you're having people over to your place for lunch or for dinner and you want to serve them some crusty homemade sourdough bread, these rolls are a great option because you can serve them individually. They're kind of pull apart, tear and share style rolls, and they're no fuss. It's just as easy to make these rolls as it is to make a regular loaf of sourdough bread. Let me show you how to do it. All right, to turn a loaf of sourdough bread into rolls, you're just gonna need one loaf of sourdough bread, obviously. This one is my medium hydration sourdough bread recipe that I've been sharing a little bit lately. It's been proofing in the fridge overnight. It proofed for about 8 hours in the fridge in the cold environment. You can of course use my recipe if you want to. I'll link that in the description, but you can use any just kind of plain sourdough bread recipe that you want. It can be in a round Banneton basket like this one or in an oval Banneton. Either way will work for this. So I've got my oven preheating to 500 degrees Fahrenheit with the Dutch oven inside the oven preheating along with it. And I'm just gonna flip this out onto some parchment paper. Shuffle that around a little bit. Okay, this dough is actually proofed already, so it's a little bit different than making other rolls. With a regular roll recipe, you're gonna form the rolls into balls or their little roll shapes, and then you're gonna let them proof in that shape. I've already got the dough proofed just as a regular loaf of sourdough bread. This is just an easy way to turn it into rolls. I'm just going to divide this dough into 8 equal parts with this bench scraper. I've just got a classic plastic bench scraper like this. I'm gonna press almost all the way down to the bottom of the dough to divide the dough, but it's still gonna be holding on just a little bit to the rest of the dough. So it's gonna hold together as one loaf, but it's gonna be divided into 8 pieces. So press down with your bench scraper, dividing the dough into 8 equal pieces. Make sure you're pressing down to the bottom, down to the counter, but you're not cutting all the way through the dough. Kind of leave them intact with each other, just dividing the dough into 8 pieces. Okay, it felt really wrong cutting the dough up like that, but this works. This will look different if you're using an oval Banneton basket. The rolls will be slightly different shape, but you can still divide it up the same way into pieces. Now this is gonna bake just like a regular loaf, but these lines are basically gonna be like little perforations in the dough. So once it bakes up, you can present it on the table and you can kind of tear the loaf apart into individual rolls. So with your oven preheated to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, go ahead and open up the lid to your Dutch oven or Challenger bread pan in my case. Put the rolls into the center of your Dutch oven, then put the lid on top to trap the steam, and you're gonna bake this for about 20 minutes with the lid of the Dutch oven on. Then 20 minutes later, just take the lid of the Dutch oven off to release the steam, and you'll see the oven spring of your rolls. You see the rolls really puffed up like a loaf of bread, but those perforations remain in the dough, so we'll be able to tear or rip the dough apart along those lines. Keep baking for another 10 to 15 minutes at 500 degrees Fahrenheit until your bread has the color, should be a deep brown color that you're looking for. I was happy with how dark these turned out just after 10 minutes, so I moved them to a wire rack to cool down for an hour. You can leave them for longer than an hour if you want to, just make sure they're perfectly cool before you break into them. Or you can serve them kind of warm. They're your rolls, do whatever you want. Now you can serve these as pull apart or tear and share style rolls if you want to, but I can see some people wanting to pre-cut these so they're ready to eat at the table. So if you want to do that, just go ahead and cut them with your bread knife along those lines and they'll be ready to serve. I like these because it's a fun and kind of unique way to eat a standard crusty loaf of sourdough bread. I think with a big bowl of soup or stew, it's way better to have a wedge of sourdough like this than a slice of bread. Plus, these go better with soups and stews anyway, since they're crusty and they're not soft like a traditional dinner roll. My recommendation is to definitely serve these with some butter, and if you're eating them on their own, these would go well with some jam as well. If you want to make this recipe, check out this video up top right here. That's my medium hydration sourdough bread. And if you want to make some more traditional soft sourdough dinner rolls, check out the video right underneath.